We have a quorum present this afternoon.
Okay, great. Okay, next session, regular work session is December 16th, 2020 at 3 p.m. and the next regular meeting is December 21st, 2020 at 1 p.m. First item on the agenda is the discussion with Pete Topping, Peconic Baykeeper, regarding recap of the season's oyster growing efforts in Cold Spring Pond. Is he?
Are you here, Pete?
Yes. It's coming in.
Where'd everybody go?
Hi, Pete.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's good to see everyone remotely. And kind of as a segue to Ed's statement about why we do what we do, I thought I'd give a recap on our Cold Spring Pond oyster restoration program that we were able to start this past year with your support from last year. This is my first time doing this. I'm going to try and share the screen so I can just show some slides. I think a picture will speak more than 1,000 words. All right, is that showing up for folks?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Right. Yeah, so this past year, it was a challenge with COVID, but we got some last minute funding and we were able to start our community oyster restoration program in Cold Spring Pond. The reason why I call it a community oyster restoration program is different from the SPAT model where individuals adopt oyster cages or bags. I wanted to create more of an open format program where people could come for multiple sessions or just come once or twice, just as much as they wanted to be involved. So we, just to go through a little bit of a timeline, in June of 2020, we were able to get some funding. We purchased 10 floating oyster grow cages that we installed in Cold Spring Pond in the northeast corner. Right off the Trustee Road, under the guidelines that we got permission for last year, and also licensed through the DEC, through License to Collect and Possess. We had also started some oysters the season before, which Kim Tetro let me grow some oysters as part of the SPAT program over at Tiana. So it was kind of nice. We were able to move some of those oysters over there at the beginning of the season to get a crop going. This is what the nursery site looked like when everything was installed. You'll see there are mooring buoys at the end of the cages there, and those actually have a pulley on them, and they're attached to stakes seaward of the marsh. And so I was able to access this from shore, even at high tide. So it made it really nice for community outreach. We didn't need a boat. In mid-July, we got 80,000 oysters from Eros Aquaculture in Southold, and we're able to host our first open house and maintenance and education session. We held a total of 4 throughout the season. During these sessions, you can see in the upper right, the volunteers were size grading the oysters. We were able to do this all on site, just with hand sieves and some buckets of water. And down below is a photo of people walking out into the cages. And you can see there, they're pulled in closer to shore. Fall seeding efforts. Keep in mind these red lines are approximations, but we're able to seed about 6,500 larger oysters in Red Creek Pond. It's denoted where these the red circles are drawn, and you might recognize this person right here from the trustee's office. That's Ann and James joined me one day to help out. We also seeded some oysters in Cold Spring Pond, around 6,000 off the east side, denoted by these red lines. So another good day of seeding there. And we also seeded about 3,200 oysters in Sabonic Creek, and some really nice sandy bottom in there. I didn't see any oysters in the area that we seeded, so I'm kind of excited to go back and check on that next year. There are successes for the season. We seeded just under 16,000 oysters in Southampton Town waters. These were all waters that are either certified or seasonally certified. We had over 24 volunteers who came and participated in the program. I also had numerous others that were interested in helping out for next year or were unable to attend this year's events. And nothing but positive feedback from the community. I know I was a little concerned when I put the gear in at first. It was floating gear. I wasn't sure if there'd be any pushback from the neighbors off Cold Spring Point Road, but anybody that paddleboarded over or kayaked over, everyone was really, really excited about what was going on over there. Also no tampering of gear, which was a big plus. Season challenges, we did lose a bit of seed during Tropical Storm Isaias. Some of the enclosures for the oyster bags came loose, so unfortunately we lost some small seed. We did have restricted volunteer participation due to COVID. I had to be very careful about how many people we allowed, and also staff funding. And as I'm sure you're all aware, we had pretty widespread rust tide events in the Peconics, and that included Cold Spring Pond as well. So what we did, the oysters that were too small, we went to Plan B, and in the lower left, Peconic Baykeeper actually has deed to some bottomlands in Great Peconic Bay, and I have permits to have a limited amount of gear and bottom cages out there. So at the end of October, you can see in the upper left, that's the seed in July. Upper right, that's some of the smaller seed in late October. So in my opinion, it was too small to seed and have a reasonable chance of success. So what we did was we overwintered some of that smaller seed in 6 cages out in about 20 feet of water out in Great Peconic Bay. Next year, with your continued permission, I would love to get this nursery program underway again and bring that seed back to resume growth so we can start seeding again in July and August. I would love to purchase up to 100,000 more oyster seed, potentially add 5 more cages to the system, additional outreach events, find other areas around the town to seed in, and identify areas that are in current shellfish spawner sanctuaries that might be more suitable to oysters. I know there are a number of spawner sanctuaries that are a little more geared toward clams. They have softer bottoms. So that's something we could discuss at a later date and time. And last, thank you to you all for allowing for permission. Thanks to our friends at Advanced Wastewater Solutions. They sponsor the gear, and of course, all our volunteers that helped out during the program. So that's the synopsis. Overall, it was a great success considering all the challenges that we've all had this year, just to be able to get things underway. And I'm hoping we can steam forward next year.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your hard work. I think it's a really unique program, having all the volunteers and have everybody, doing their part. It makes people recognize that what goes on in the environment and what they do on their properties eventually ends up there. And we do eat some of these shellfish, and they do help, filter the water and get rid of some of the pollutants out of the water, some of the nitrogen and such like that. But the key component is back in the 60s and 70s, every one of the ponds on the north side of Peconic Bay had, thousands of oysters that were attached to the metal mussels and all around the perimeters of the pond. And in the last couple of years, I've started to notice that these oysters are coming back. So with the help of you restocking them, you'll have more and more oyster spat in there. So eventually all the perimeters of the pond where all the marsh grass is will be reconstituted with oysters again. So I think it's a wonderful program.
Thanks. Yeah, I saw in Cold Spring in particular, on the rocks as well as the rib mussels, saw quite a bit of that. And even the temporary dock that the trustees put in at Red Creek this past year, I saw there were probably several dozen oysters that attached to the 4x4s holding that dock. So
Yep.
kind of a good sign to see that nature's doing what it can to recover.
Mhm.
It is.
The dogs concur.
Yes,
Keep up the good work.
Hank agrees.
Yeah,
down-
so
down Spring,
the
yes.
end is I'd love for permission from the trustees to continue this next year. So if you will grant it, I will carry on.
Okay. Just put in a formal letter of request, okay?
Yep. I will.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, I was down in Cold Spring yesterday, walking along the edges there, and I noticed a lot of recruitment down there too.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Okay.
Pete.
Peter did a great job.
Greg Rivara, is he on? Is he coming in or into the discussion, or we're just going to
He-
discuss his report?
He's there.
Oh, he's on, he should be
here?
on the agenda.
I see him.
Charles, would you let Greg?
I'm here, folks. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Greg.
Oh, okay.
Greg,
Hello, Greg.
Hey,
All right, so at the last meeting, we asked Greg to go down there and do a clam survey of sizes and density in Tom's Pond. So you want to just fill us in on what you found?
yeah, let me get the doc up on my screen. You can still see me and hear me?
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, this is last Tuesday, a week ago from tomorrow, pretty much. And we did 10 random square meter samples with a commercial style clam rake around the perimeter. So not real deep in the middle, but around the perimeter. And that's where most of the clams are. The average density of the clams in all, if you averaged all 10, was about 18 per square meter, which is, quite a lot of clams. And it ranged from 4 to 33 per square meter. So that's like a square yard, basically. And that's 33 per square meter is pretty packed. The average size of the clams we caught was about a little over 2 inches in shell length. So that's like that, not thickness, not the legal size. And remember, we didn't really go for seed here. The smallest thing we caught was maybe, let me see if I have that down here. It was pretty small. It was like 35 millimeters, something like that. So those are sublegal clams, but most of the clams we caught were legal because of the rake we were using, had 3/4 inch bar spacing.
Mhm.
Also, interestingly, we found the percent notata, and these are the hatchery, mostly the hatchery raised clams. It's a pretty rare genetic marker in nature. It's a natural genetic marker, I should say. It averaged about 1/4 of the clams, about 26%. And it ranged from 0 on the west side to as much as almost 90% on the east side. And that's where in the past I've gone with the Bay Constables and I should say the maintenance guys mainly, and planted off the road. So we very rarely went around, to that west side. So it's interesting. Pretty much none on the west side, most on the east side. But it was about 1/4 of the clams all told. Also, the largest clams are found on the west side. And it was a little deeper there and not as a hard bottom there. And I guess it's not maybe fished as much. So those clams got larger. And we only found 3 dead clams out of 187 clams sampled. So if you add up all, I told you it was about 18, 19 clams per square meter. So that's about 187 clams total. So it's a little under 2% mortality. Very healthy population. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
thanks, Greg.
So it's mostly as a result of seed, if you're saying the tatas, mostly a result of the seed that we placed in there.
Well, not necessarily mostly, about 25%, like I said. is,
Quarter.
yeah, about a quarter. Now, we don't do 100% notata in the hatchery. It's almost impossible to get that. So
Okay.
that being said, it's probably not more than a third though. Just that's a guesstimate.
But the size basically though is all of one size in there. You're not finding a big mix of chowders, cherries, and necks, right?
There is a mix. There are more legal size clams, I would say. I mean, I'm sorry, more neck and top neck than chowders and cherries though. And it's a pretty healthy population. I saw good growth rates. And remember, it's only got that little culvert. It's like maybe, I don't know, a foot in diameter that goes to Sabana Creek. So when they spawn in there, those larvae stay for that like 1 to 2 week period and stay in Tom's Pond, which is kind of a nice thing.
All right. What about the oysters and scallops that you put in there? What would be the impact of them?
Impact for what? I'm not sure what you mean.
If you're raking.
Oh, you know what? We didn't see any scallops or oysters in any of the samples we took in those square meters. Now, we didn't put oysters in this year, and the scallops we put in, a small amount of scallops, we did not find any of those. They either went to the deeper water, which is possible, or they were predated upon by gulls.
Mm-hmm. Would they come in the first place if you had? How big were the scallops?
Oh, they were about 45 millimeters, like a little under 2 inches in shell height. So not legal yet.
Okay, so you would have caught them in your rake then.
If they were in that, remember, we were in the fairly shallow area around the perimeter.
Okay.
We didn't cover a lot of the pond.
You know, the reason why the west side doesn't get shellfished a lot is because you don't have a hard shoreline around it. It's not as, you can't walk along the shoreline. You have to go in the water. It's all phragmites, groundsel bush and everything.
Right.
Okay.
Greg, thanks so much for taking the time to do this inventory for us. You stated that this is a healthy pond. What would constitute a healthy density for the clams that exist there?
In the past, and these are documents going back to the 1980s, it has to do with Great South Bay. They considered anything over 5 clams per square meter as a commercial, commercially viable. It's not really worth it for a commercial person to go in. It's less than 5. And we found basically over 5 times, a little over 3 times the amount, 18, 19 per square meter.
So, Greg, can I ask you a question? If it's been open historically for shellfishing for as long as I've been a bayman, which is about 50 years, there's some questions about using some kind of management tools so that we can leave somewhat of a population in the pond, so for next year's spawning. So you and I had discussed maybe making a minimum size, which is a 1-inch legal state clam, up to a 2-inch clam, which is a top neck. Everything larger than that, the 2-inch clam, would be thrown back, and that would constitute being, basically saving those clams for future spawner stock. So would that be, and putting a time frame of harvest, a week or maybe 2 weeks, or what time frame that we come up with, if we can, to harvest the clams and then close it for the rest of the season? Would something like that be a good management practice for a small body of water like this moving forward?
It could be the idea of a slot limit, say that 1 to 2 inch thickness, again, not length, has worked in other areas. I know other towns have used that. It's sort of like we do with striped bass, right? The larger fish are more valuable as brood stock. Same thing with hard clams. As they get older, they don't stop spawning. They don't become senescent. So the larger the clam, the more eggs a female will put out. The smaller clams that are generally worth more money at the market are actually the worst performers in terms of spawning success. So the idea of cropping off those necks and top necks and leaving the cherries and chowders behind can work, as long as it's enforced. That's the thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Enforcement's always an issue.
Right.
What about bag limits? What about amount of material that's taken out of, what is it, like a 2 to 3 acre area we're talking about in total?
3 acres. Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, bag limits have been used in, again, other towns for, like they are for bay scallops now. What's a fair number? I don't know. A bag or two a day, maybe. It might give more people access, a chance to get in there. But obviously, if you're gonna open it for a couple weeks, it's gonna be, it'll be taken advantage of, which is, I guess, part of your,
Right.
yeah, why you're there. It's not just environmental, but it's economic as well. And it is a fairly valuable resource.
Well, the trouble with this pond is that the general public doesn't know it exists. And I would say that quite a few baymen don't even know it exists. And now it is going to, and there's a lot of people showing interest in going clamming. They have nothing on the general public. So I think that since it's surrounded by private property, so to speak, with an easement going on top of the culvert that we have to feed the pond, that the traffic should be, any foot traffic should be limited to that particular area, and that something should be worked out with the golf course there to put up some sort of snow fence or something to delineate, where people can walk and not. And if you're talking about opening it up, then you'd have to be opening it up on certain days where the Bay Constable would monitor the situation. Because a lot of people interested in going clamming these days. I get calls all the time. Where's the clams? Where can I go? So if this place is such a good area, then it should be advertised and allow for the golf course to set up some pathways, whatever it is, and open it up like 1 day a week or 2 days a week for. And if you're going to talk about bag limits and sizes, that the Bay Constables have to be present to monitor the situation.
Well, it's
Yeah.
definitely going to be a management and enforcement situation. So I
Right.
think that the board has to figure out where there's a good balance so that you can handle the needs of the stakeholders, whether they be commercial or recreational. So, and maintain a sustainable pond so that they have this for, Ed's granddaughter there and beyond. So how do we arrive at that?
It's basically, like we talked about, a slot limit and a bag limit, and just not leaving it open year round.
All right.
So
Oh, yeah,
Scott,
well,
looking at,
Around anyway. It's
well,
only
it's
open.
only open on a seasonal basis.
Right.
And once it freezes up, you really can't utilize it unless it's frozen hard enough where you can walk in there and cut a hole with a chainsaw, which hasn't happened in 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, demand is right before Christmas for shellfish. So that's when it will really be utilized, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
probably after New Year's with the COVID issues in the restaurants, the clam market or the fish market in general is going to be very, very soft. And that's
Right.
why
Right.
most of the baymen were very interested in getting in there, and that's why we're having this conversation now.
Okay.
So something like a 2-inch maximum size clam, opening it for, well, I mean, if you're going to do, I was going to say the month of December, so that way it would be up to Christmas, because not every bayman is going to go in there, and you can't work it at high tide because it's too deep. The majority of the area will never get worked because it's too deep to wade in. So that alone is going to manage it. And then if you guys are interested in putting some kind of bag limit, I mean, we've done that in Paynes Creek. We've done that in North Sea Harbor. So, I mean, it's, basically, pick a number. That's a
Well,
viable number.
Difficult in there because you only have 3 acres. So, and that doesn't address the general public. They're still going to be allowed 100 clams?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, anybody from the general public can go in there. I mean, there are people that from the local neighborhood that have gone in there for years clamming.
Mhm.
When the commercial guys would never use it.
Yeah.
Greg Rivera, I appreciate the expediency that you got in there. Based on what you saw and based on what you know of the size, do you have a recommendation that you can give us in terms of, how much can be removed here and still maintain a hardy number there for sustainability?
I really don't have that number, but I think, as Trustee Warner just said, they're never going to remove all those clams unless they get a boat in there and maybe get some tongs going. And leaving behind the larger animals, if they took every clam between those two sizes, it would be pretty barren for that size class for about 3 years. But I'm assuming in July, you'd have a pretty good spawn. The larvae would stay in there and you'd have another crop in a number of years. Maybe 3 years, you'd be able to have it again. The kind of fishery you would have now. And I'll also add that if you just left it closed forever, that the bottom is already pretty hard. And by working it, it is true that helps get larvae in there, helps new clams set in there. But also, this is going to get old. You're going to have all these big clams in there. And that's not a good thing. Even though I said it, they do a lot of spawning. If there's too many, there's no room for the little guys to get in, and they'll actually siphon their own larvae up. And that's been shown. So actually eating their own larvae, not digesting them, but spitting them out in mucus, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then the clam's dead, basically. So you don't want it to be all chowder clams like 20 years from now.
Understood.
Where's the sweet spot where we can? I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Greg, I had a couple of the baymen. I asked a few of the baymen what they thought about Tom's Pond, and their remarks were that we should keep it closed for a while to build up the stock in there. So if we go in there and wipe it out this year, we don't have to wait 3 to 5 years to have another set of clams. And they were more concerned that having a spawning sanctuary somewhere in that area, because up in West Neck, you walk along the shore, there's not that many clams. You really have to work to find the clams, where years ago, like Ed was saying, there was lots of clams. You could clam there all winter. Now, there's very little places along the edges in Bull's Head Bay and West Neck where you can go where a commercial guy can go and get clam. And so they were hoping that stuff would spawn and then go out the pipe and go inside West Neck or Bull's Head Bay and set up along the shore.
I mean, some will definitely get through that pipe. Yes, on an outgoing tide, you'll get some larvae. They're in the water for at least 10 days, maybe 14 days. So they could definitely get into the main stem. They could also get washed out into the bay proper, in state waters, theoretically, right? I'm sure some of them are setting in Sabana Creek. But as far as the number goes, I mean, that's really going to have to be up to you folks. Do you want to open it the week before Christmas and have a 2-bag limit for those, say, 5 days before Christmas Eve?
Well, you'd have to have the bay constable there every day for 5 days.
Well, you can have a time limit, you know what I mean? You can make it look at the low tide, and it's going to get pretty complicated, obviously,
I think it can be managed without getting too complicated, but it sounds to me like there is a benefit for having that bottom manipulated so that it doesn't get too hard and that it continues to be able to be a thriving sustainability. I think it's a matter of really protecting the bulk of the resource and having the slot limit and having a sensible bag limit, and then shutting it beyond that so that you always have this as a resource that's going to continue to reproduce itself and pay those dividends that we all want to see. We all want to see the dividends paid so that they have the sustainability and that some of the spawn does get outside of that pipe. And then we have the ability to see some recruitment outside of the pond. So it's like, how can we find that balance, that proper balance that works for this whole thing? I appreciate you getting down there, and the information that you're providing is fantastic. But I still think that we can sensibly manage this without making it too complex and protect that shellfish and respect the recreational and the stakeholders.
Well, if you're talking about right before Christmas, you want to, the way I see it, we have two options. One, you open it up and you have sensible bag limits, or you leave it closed and you harvest, get people to harvest it next year and have the clams grow up a little larger and put it in some sort of protected spawner sanctuary in that West Neck complex. That's the two issues. If you want to do something right before Christmas, then you're talking about the next meeting is the 16th. What we did was we put it down to the 15th to give us time to discuss it when Ed was back. So do you want to wait until that point and then we have a sensible thing worked out with the Bay Constables about what days, what times and everything like that? Because right now, that would give the golf course time to delineate a path through there of the least that's going to do the least damage for people walking back and forth. So everybody knows what the rules and regulations, that they can't really go on the property. They have to stay in the water. You know, you can't trample around the shoreline and stuff, and to inform the public and everything too, if we're going to open it up. There's a lot of ifs right now. Details that would have to be worked out. What do you think, Ed?
Just looking at, well, I mean, we have had a 2 bushel limit in North Sea Harbor in the management area for about 10 years, and that's been sustainable for 10 years. So that has worked. So my thought, this is just a quick thought, have a slot size of 1 inch to 2 inch, open it from the 15th to the 18th, both dates inclusive, the 21st to the 24th, both dates inclusive. It will get you a little over a week. Have like a 2 bushel bag limit per bayman per day. And that would probably be, a good way to start.
Well,
But as far as there's only one.
The only thing I would add to that is that, in North Sea Harbor, you have a tremendous other area. You're only talking about a 3-acre pond here. So maybe the bag limit should be 1 bag per day to allow all the guys to have a shot at it. We're not talking about, hundreds of acres. We're talking about 3 acres. So, one guy could go in there and clean it out if the other, if another commercial guy went in there. How many commercial guys do we have in town or would utilize that? 10 or 15?
I tell you, there's only probably a handful of guys, maybe 6 or 8 guys that are scratch rakers that utilize that pond for the last 10 years on a regular basis. And those would be the same 8 or 10 guys that would go in there now. So the majority of the other guys, are doing other stuff, razor clamming, steamering, oystering, and working in the bigger bays, and they have boats. So you're only going to cater to a limited amount of people, Eric.
Is there
8 guys at 2 bushels, that's, do the math, and how many days you're gonna open it? That place will be cleaned out in no time.
that's what I was going to get at. Is there a maximum amount of bushels that could be taken out of there, just like other fisheries that there are once they hit their quota shut down?
You're only harvesting like 1/10 of the area that's able to be harvested because of the depth of water.
Right, so we're talking like half an acre now, or even less.
Even less.
So I mean,
if they don't walk around the shoreline because of the mud and the bushes. They only do the east
so
side.
pretty much after the second day, if there's no clams in there, the bayman will go somewhere else.
They wipe it out.
Well,
you're not going to wipe it out, Billy, because you got to.
How about we limit it to 1 bag of clams per bayman per year? You could have 10 guys go in there and then the public gets nothing. I mean, we're not in business to protect one particular industry. I mean, if I have a sawmill, I can't go on town property and start cutting trees down, to the detriment of everybody else. Let everybody get a shot at it,
Because it's not that big of an area. I don't know. You heard my thoughts, so.
Okay. Say a bayman goes in there, he has the time, and he goes in there for all those days and gets 2, 4, 6, and he gets it, and the other guy is can't get there fast enough, and he's out. At least everybody gets a shot at it then. Some of it.
Well, some people will have jobs, and some people will just do the bayman stuff as a part-time. And some people will be oystering down in Mecox Some people
Right.
would be scalloping. So not everybody is going to go here, Eric. You have to literally carry the clams 150 feet through the woods. It's not for everybody to do. There's only a couple guys that go down here, like I say, on a regular yearly basis. And they've been doing this for, I know of at least 10 years of, clamming in there every year, because there's been a small set in there every year for the last 10 years.
Mhm. All right, so are we gonna leave this till the 15th so we can come to some talking amongst the board and come to some final
I mean, yeah,
resolution? that-
what happens after the 24th, Eddie, on your plan that you were talking about? You got the
It's
15th to
closed,
the 18th.
it's closed until next December 1st, at which time we could discuss it.
Till next
It's gonna be
December
closed
1st, so
for 11
16.
months.
Okay,
So you're only talking about just over a week's worth of clamming here, right?
Right.
well, we're only talking about, less than a quarter of an acre to clam.
Right, I
It's not
got
like
you,
it's
but
a harbor.
so if you can find that, like Greg's talking about, there is a benefit to turning the bottom over. There is a benefit to manipulating this and doing it. So I'm trying to figure out where do we get the benefits and then stop right there. Okay, let's get the benefits and let's use some of that resource, but then let's stop and, like Eddie said, leave it till the next December.
We could always send,
Greg, where do you think that is, bushel wise?
You're asking me like a
Yeah, I mean,
maximum sustainable yield?
Yeah, like you've got I think a good handle on, your side of the equation of where we perhaps can find that balance where we get the benefit and we don't go beyond where we're now going the other direction.
I could try to come up with a number for you. I just can't do it off the top of my head right now. I could email it to
Yeah.
everyone later today.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in seeing where the benefits come into us and not going beyond where we are doing too much damage to that stock where we lose that sustainability. And now we're putting ourselves where we're jeopardizing things for Eddie's grandchild and everybody else's. So where do we find that sweet spot with respect to all the stakeholders? I mean, he's talking about a very short period of time of harvest, and we're talking about a slot, and we're talking about bag limits. So there's got to be a total amount where
Yes.
we can't take any more out of it.
So 400 feet, go on Google Earth, measure it out, say 400 feet by, say, 20 foot wide, 30 foot wide, that you can get that.
20,
What do you,
about 20 feet. Yeah.
20 feet? Figure the square footage, by your calculations as far as how many clams that you got per square meter, and figure out the total amount of clams in there, and then we can realistically set a limit.
But can you do that, Greg? Can you make calculations?
Yep.
Like there's
Yes,
10,000.
and are we talking about a 400 count? per
Yes.
bushel? Okay.
400 per bushel. Yep, that's a stand. And one thing you have to recognize is we're starting a management plan now. It has been self-managed since 1990, with the first year I was in there. It's been self-managed from then to now. And every year the baymen go in and harvest a few bushels of clams for a few days, and then they go on with their lives. And next year they go do the same thing. So they have never accomplished wiping the whole pond out.
No, I know that, but
In
the
30
we're here
years.
for the public too. We're here for the public too, and the public wants to go, and they don't go in there because there's no trespassing signs, and they don't really know that's the ability to go in there. So what I'd like to do is now publicize this, that this is another resource that the public has. That's all.
Yes.
Right, but my perspective is, from a management standpoint, it is a very small area, and I think that, we're obviously seeing dividends paid off in Shinnecock as a result of everybody's buying with the sanctuaries. Similar type of situation here in Tom's Pond. I think we need to figure out what's sustainable, where we get the benefits from not having the bottom go too hard, where we can have some sustainability in the harvest, and then we can also get the dividends paying off. So it's not a bad thing for us to look at it from a management standpoint. It's going to help everybody, just like it did in Shinnecock. So I'm interested in Greg taking a look at it. He's obviously highly educated. This is his, his specialty, and I take what he says very seriously.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Also, when you figure out the percentage, always, we have to figure out what percentage the commercial guys can take and the freeholders will take at the same time. I know that's hard to do, but we have to allow for that. And also
saying
the main
100 clams per day, right? For non-commercial?
non-commercial,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, and I could go back in the spring and do the same thing over again, not in the exact same places, obviously, but another 10 random samples and come up and see how we did.
That's a good idea.
Good
And
idea.
also,
Okay.
the main crew can go in there and work the bottom a little bit too, so when they spawn, they have the bottom soft, so they can set it in there.
When are they gonna find time to do that, Bill? There's only 3.5 of them.
In between doing something else.
We're working on it.
They're very organized.
We're working on it.
Okay,
Okay, well,
All
thanks,
right.
Greg.
thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, good job
you,
as
folks.
usual.
I'll get back to you later today.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you,
Thanks.
as soon as possible.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public hearings.
One moment, please. We had tabled this resolution and
Further down the
how-
line,
sorry,
it's further down the line at the end of this meeting.
Right, just before the end of
It's
the.
resolution 2020-268.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Public hearings, public hearing on the amendment of the Blue Book A340, Section 61A, boat ramp and four-wheel drive permits, ramp permits, calendar year term. So I'd like to make a motion on that. Set a public
Second it.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Okay. So this is for opening the public hearing, right, Lisa?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So does anybody from the public have any comments on this? Or against?
That's a good question. I see no hands on that particular vote.
Okay, this is to extend the ability to go for 3 years, correct?
I only have one comment.
Yep.
What happens if we issue a 3-year permit and the permittee has it for 1 year and we decide to raise the fees at the second year? How does that going to play into it?
What's
They
it?
they bought it for 3 years. You
That's
have
it,
to
they're
be
locked in.
locked in. You save money.
Okay, so
Right, the intent of this was, we sell the 3-year, the trustee's office sells the 3-year 4x4 permits, and people usually buy both at the same time. So to make the ramp permit and the 4x4 permit sold at the same time as they always were, we've drafted this to amend the ramp permits to extend for a 3-year permit as well. So that's the
Okay.
intent behind it, to make it line up a little better for your people that are buying both permits.
So they wouldn't
So
have
if
to
you're
get,
buying so it's actually a good thing by buying a 3-year permit, because if we raise the fee in between that time it expires, you get it for a cheaper rate.
Right, that's
That's right.
and usually people are buying 2 in this scenario, a ramp permit
Right.
and a driving
This is an
permit.
example.
Yeah, looks good, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it will sell well.
And this is what I believe this is what the 4x4 3-year, something to this effect. This is what we got from IT.
Nice
The
and
color,
big.
it's not the color. The colors we're gonna have to work out for the cheapest way to do it, but
Right, the colors become less crucial based on the enlarged print.
yes,
Yes.
that's what we were talking about before.
Simplicity, and that saves money.
Enlarging
And
the
it's
number.
gonna be less burdensome on the staff, so that's a good thing
Lot
too.
easier, and it's still good for enforcement.
Right,
Good.
right. Because right now, if you have a yellow sticker, a boat ramp sticker, say, and the 4x4 is the same color, you're on the beach, the bay constable still has to get up close to your truck to see if you have a valid 4x4 sticker. They can't do it just by the color. Because if you have because I could theoretically buy a boat ramp, drive on the beach there, and if they're looking from a distance and they see that, they can't see that small print that says it has a 4x4, you know? So that's why the larger number would be more important. Like
I'm
they do
happy
with
with this.
patients.
I'm happy
Yep.
with this program better.
Yep,
Better.
okay. Sounds good. All right, so no other input, so I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Are we
Aye.
going to close this with a written comment period? Because since we're going to adopt today,
Right, we have a notice of adoption ready to go today if you'd like.
I don't think we need the written comment period.
no,
I
we
think
have a
we should
notice of
adopt it
adoption
and put it,
that's ready for a walk-on.
I think that's, I personally think we should adopt it and not leave it open for written comment because
Right.
no one else is putting any more information in for us.
This is only a benefit, it's not
I agree with Ed on that.
on it.
So do I.
Okay. All right. So then the next item is public portion then.
We just have to
Sure.
adopt
Well-
the motion to close.
All in
Okay.
favor? Aye.
I asked for that before, right? Didn't I? Okay.
No, you didn't.
No,
I said to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I
Yes,
seconded
but you
it.
didn't.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All right.
Now
Public
you need
portion.
the motion to adopt.
I don't
So
want to go
moved.
out of order,
Oh.
right? Don't you have trustee resolution, all these orders and everything like that in order?
Well, we could skip it when we get to it if you want to adopt it now.
So we were going
I
to do
could-
it. Wait a second. Lisa,
Yes,
don't
sir.
you have every trustee resolution all numbered already here?
No, this was a walk-on.
This is a walk-on. We were going to do at the end of the meeting.
Right. That's what
Do
I'm
it
saying.
now.
Yeah, it's a walk-on. Yes.
But if you do it now, you have to assign number to it, right?
Yes,
Which
this
order
is
with
not
all
this is, the ID number has to be revised, so we could walk it on now.
Would you-
No, let's not change the format. You have numbers assigned to all these resolutions already. We do the walk-on at the end, so you do, like, you don't have to change all the numbers of the resolutions that you have already, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, so we'll do it
Okay.
at the meeting. So to keep everything in order. Okay?
Right, so we're gonna walk it on at the end of the meeting. Is that what
Yeah.
the board would like to do?
Well, let me ask you.
Yes,
Yeah, if you have a trustee resolution already now for waterfowl hunting location permits of 2020-269, and you introduce this thing before that, or inject it somewhere, you're gonna have to change all the numbers on all the
No,
resolutions.
that's not correct, Eric. That is not
Why?
correct. Because it's
Why?
not in its final format, because it has not been walked on the agenda. It still has an ID number. I assign it a resolution number after it has been walked on to the agenda. So there's an ID number, which is prior to the numbering of the actual resolution, which would happen after the fact. So that's why we do it at the end of the meeting. It would not have any effect on the numbering system of the rest of the resolutions. That is not correct.
If you prefer to do it at the end, there, Eric, we can do it at the end. It's fine. Whichever you like.
You have an ID number when the resolution is prepared, and then once the resolution becomes part of the agenda, then it's assigned a resolution number.
What is that number gonna be?
That number will be the number after the last resolution on the agenda, which is 2020-279. So this will become 2020-280.
Okay, and you wanna do it now, that's not gonna affect the numbers in the system?
No, we could do that. Whatever is the board's preference is fine with me.
Whatever you
Okay,
want,
so we'll
Eric.
do
We'll
it.
do it.
We'll do it now then, no problem. I didn't wanna mess up the numbering system.
Are you making a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
Okay,
Okay, so this is the
All-
motion to walk on resolution number 2020-280.
yes,
Right. Are you making a motion to adopt?
yes.
I
Now I'll
will
make the
second-
motion to adopt it.
I'll
Scott
second
second
it.
it. All in favor? Aye.
All right,
aye.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Public portion. Anybody here to speak on any issue for the trustees?
Yes, Tiffany Gavin would like to speak.
hi Tiffany,
Hi, guys, how are you?
good.
Okay,
Good.
Off the record and That baby was the most delicious baby I've ever seen in my life. Really should be like the mascot for town of Southampton.
Yeah, adorable.
That's my daughter.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Okay. I would like to bring out to everybody's attention that a representative for 65 Cliff Drive presented at the ZBA meeting on December 3rd, and under oath said that the property had all proper permits and bulkhead was non-jurisdiction. Please note the bulkhead was permitted by the trustees July 20th, 1966, permit number 1202. It has been confirmed that no formal restoration plan has been proposed to the trustees or town by 65 Cliff LLC, owing to lack of direction from the town, the trustees, and the needed input by the DEC. My neighbors and I have hired a coastal management consultant to prepare a remediation plan, and we anticipate it to be finalized in the next 2 weeks. We would be willing to share the plan with you for discussion purposes in the restoration and remediation. Mr. Grossman of the ZBA suggested strongly that we meet with 65 Cliff LLC to see if a resolution of concerns can be decided upon. We have already formally requested this meeting. The question is, have you guys had any further contact from the homeowner at this point?
Yes, we have talked to the homeowner's agent. We have talked to our attorneys here at the town hall, and our attorneys at the town hall are setting up a meeting with the agent and the homeowner and their attorneys to discuss, because as you know, it is a rather complicated affair with two different agencies as the town, and covenants and restrictions have been filed, and this has to be unraveled in order to even present the plan to the trustees at this point. So
they did come with a formal plan? They have a remediation plan?
No, they indicated in a letter to us that they could not submit a plan to us because covenants and restrictions were filed because the Conservation Board had them file it. So it's been filed in the county clerk's office that really no work can be done down there other than the plan that was presented to the Conservation Board. So this has to be unraveled.
Okay.
We have to figure out how we're going to do it.
And the trustees are still in the position of the area has been harmed and it will be remediated by an installation of a low silt bulkhead and cleaning up the spoils and putting them back on property or in another restoration plan.
Well, if the other trustees want to weigh in this, as far as I'm concerned, my position hasn't changed, that I want some sort of remediation plan submitted and the recognition that the trustees have jurisdiction in the matter. So you want any of the other board members want to speak to it?
I would concur with that.
Mr. Schultz, may I just show you something? This was taken Friday. A second island has formed now.
Mm-hmm.
Further
West.
choking off of your canal,
Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
just to let you know.
Okay.
So it hasn't stopped harming the natural environment.
Right.
Well-
And our position hasn't changed. So let the lesser board speak.
Wonderful.
What
Thank
we
you,
need
sir.
is an application to be filed before us so we can take a review on it and start our process. Without them filing a formal application to the Board of Trustees, we're just having these conversations, but they really don't carry any weight. Once they file that application and we start our formal review on it, then everything will start to fall in line. That's what, I've been on the board 14 years and that's the way it's always been. So I don't see why it's going to change now. So we need them to submit something to us for our board to take a review and our environmental analysts to look at.
Is there anything that forces them to submit such an application?
Well, last I understood, we were getting ready to be scheduling a meeting of the parties, and I would think that hopefully that would be a productive meeting. And
We'll be briefed later on in a executive session with our attorneys to discuss what the board's options are at this point, since the 45-day notice of violation has expired.
I mean,
We talk about this.
yeah, really, we should wait till we have that meeting and see what the disposition is after that before we go any further. So, I mean, that's my advice, is that we sit back, let's have this conversation, let's see what everybody's demeanor is based on that, and then we can make some decisions after that.
Thank you.
Could I just have one follow-up question? Mr. Schultz, when you're saying the environmental conservation would be weighing in on this, would that be Marty Shea?
No, we are going, the town attorney and the trustees are going to talk to the homeowner and their attorney. Figure out what to do. And then we're talking to our attorney and the town attorney at the same time to figure out where we are with this rather complex situation. It's not a normal situation.
Okay, so my concern with Martin Shea being the final voice is he was the one who propelled us into this situation. So I just want to make sure that the final voice is not Mr. Shea's.
We're a separate board, totally separate board. And, I think we need to have this meeting and we need to have that conversation. And I think after that, we could see what direction it is that we're going. But I think that's really crucial at this point in time to get to the next step.
We appreciate you very much.
The area, so maybe she should weigh in on this.
I'm interested to see what happens with the upcoming meeting. And I'll hold my counsel until after that. Like to see what can be worked out here.
Okay.
You acknowledge though, Ms. Welker, that something does in fact need to be worked out?
As I said, I'll hold my counsel until after the meeting.
Okay, Bill, do you have?
I'm waiting for some direction in terms of what the time frame is on the scheduling. I'm waiting for, Attorney Sean Cambridge to give me further advice in terms of what the timing is. And then we'll go from there.
And we have reached out to it's now 3 different divisions involved. So we're looking to correlate everybody's schedules and set a meeting.
Right. Okay. So we'll wait to hear further from you, and we'll just keep.
Well, we're going to talk to Sean in an executive session after the meeting regarding this and a couple of other issues.
Right. And beyond that, there's really nothing more to add. I think until we actually have this conversation, we really should just stop talking about it.
Okay, thank you very much for listening and giving this attention. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You guys too. Bye.
Okay, so, Charles, is there anybody else wants to speak at public portion?
I see no other people in the waiting room.
Okay. All right, so let's get to the waterfowl hunting location permits. The first one is 2020-21. I mean, this season. First resolution is 2020-269. This deals with expired permits that were not renewed. It's permit number 67 by Michael B. Glass in West Shinnecock Bay, and permit number 98, Daniel S. McKay of East Shinnecock Bay. They have not been renewed. So that pursuant to the articles of the section 38 of the rules, regulations, and the management, that the trustees hereby directed the above mentioned waterfowl hunting locations be offered to individuals from the waterfowl wait list. So I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussed at the work session. Next one is trustee resolution 2020-270. This is for the 2021 waterfowl hunting location applications for late renewal. And the following people sent in explanations as to why the renewals were received late. Permit 103, James Cappers. Permit 212, Eddie A. Duck. Permit 215, Edward A. Duck. Permit 216 Edward Aduck, and permit 149 Eric Kremberg, Mecox Bay, that we approve these since we've had sufficient correspondence with them saying that they would like to keep their permit active. So I make a motion that these be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next one is Resolution 2020-271. This is, they were granted a permit, hold on. We approved the issuance of a permit to Andrew Duran, permit number 3 in Mauritius Bay, and his name is now stricken from the wait list. I'd like to make a motion on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2020-272. This is a permit from Jeremy Eastwood. He had a permit number 18. He gave up the spot and requests to go back to the wait list. Make the motion on this one.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Scott, next.
All right, I've got trustee resolution 2020-273. This is a first renewal for Terrari Realty, permit GP 0000133, 8 Feedack Lane. Recommend its renewal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Bill, next.
Let me just. Trustee Resolution 2020-274, application Patrick J. Penny, 191 Shore Road, Southampton, New York, tax map 0900 76-2-23, body of water North Sea. We did this at work session. I'd like to advance this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Trustee Resolution 2020-275. This is a first renewal for the application of SGI Marinas LLC, permit number GP 0000138, 8 West Water Street, Village of Sag Harbor, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 903-2-2-1, body of water Sag Harbor Cove. This is a first renewal. I'd like to advance it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-276. This is also a first renewal, permit number GP 0000139, SGI Marinas LLC, 50 West Water Street, Sag Harbor, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 903-2-1-2.1, body of water Sag Harbor Cove. This is also a first renewal, same marina, different property. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-277, first renewal for permit number GP 000143, Claxton House LLC, 8 John Street, Village of Sag Harbor, Suffolk County Tax Map 903-4-2-15, body of water Sag Harbor Cove. This is also a renewal. I'd like to recommend its renewal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Budget and Finance, 2020-261. This is a resolution to amend the Board of Trustee fee schedule for 2021. We all looked at this last week. Is everybody good with this?
I think that the replacement reprint permit fee is listed as 15, but I really think that the discussions seem to be moving in the direction of 20. And the dinghy permit, 25. And the kayaks, I think $100 for the kayaks with a list of the locations. I know I gave some information to Trustee Welker relative to that. And I think that, leaving I think that the 1-year permits for the ramp and the 4x4 should be 40, but I think for the folks that are not going anywhere, they take the 3-year, leave it at 90.
Yeah.
Well, what was the reason for having the exact location of the kayak dock? Shouldn't that be more of a flexible type of thing?
I would think so. That would be flexible, so we can move it around. If one area is not working out, we can easily move it to another area.
Right, you redo your fee schedule every year, but you don't amend your blue book section every year. So every year you can change that, where it would be a little more difficult to change each and every section where you have locations and wait lists listed.
Say that. See, why do we have to have the locations listed in the blue book?
So we put them in the.
Why can we just?
So
why can we just can't have a blanket fee schedule for it?
that's exactly what we're talking about, Bill.
Okay.
So we put them in the fee schedule so we don't have to amend the blue book every single year.
Okay, I thought that's why Ann wanted it. Okay.
Okay, so we agree that it's not going to be a fixed place where the actual thing is all the time. We don't have locations for moorings or anything like that.
No, it should be read as any of our facilities where we have our facilities.
Right.
That would be, so
Yeah.
that would cover it.
Ann could address that.
The other
Leave it
sections
flexible.
in the past state they're in your fee schedule, your locations, because you wanted to change it and establish wait list every year, depending on how your program goes. So you need to publish those locations, otherwise you don't have a mechanism to enforce your wait list for each season.
Plus, you're gonna need them for the website too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can wait to see if we get a wait list first. If we need it, we can do it the following year.
You should have something on the website though, right?
Also,
Yeah, we can put it on the website, Scott, but we should be flexible on where we're going to do it first year. Then if we find out that there's a wait list, then we put it in the book, like Sean just said, for next year.
right. So include your locations on the fee schedule. So somebody's going to want to amend it and include a location for each of your areas today.
So the suggestions that I've heard from a couple of you, I did send a couple emails asking for suggestions in each of your areas, were in the Baycrest at the new facility in West Hampton, the Ed Warner Park in Hampton Bays, Ed Warner Senior Park, the Little Neck facility at Little Neck Road near the college, and Rose Hill Road, perhaps in my area. But I'm open to other suggestions. And if we started with these 4 this year as possible locations, and then start with kayak wrecks in 2 of these spots, I do feel that the fee of $200 for the kayak racks is fair. If someone were to purchase a kayak rack for their vehicle, it is probably, it depends, but probably twice as much as this fee that we're instituting. As many of you know, it is a hassle to get your kayak in and out or on and off your car. And I feel that the $200 is fair. We are mirroring this program on East Hampton's program, and East Hampton has been extremely successful and has sold out now over a series of several years with the $200 fee. And they have many racks at this point. So I'm curious, Scott, as to why you're thinking the lower fee.
Just trying to be mindful of the citizens and where we're at, and not really sure, we're the same as East Hampton.
It's also that like Scott and I had a long discussion about that. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Scott.
That's okay, Bill, go ahead.
We had a long discussion on that, beating it up about 200 or 100, 250. And we came up with about $100 because it's first time we're doing it. Okay, we're going to be making a few mistakes, and it's a tough time for a lot of people out here right now, and we wanted to get it going. We feel that more people will do it if it's $100 right off the bat than if it's $200. We could always increase it the second year and the third year to get up there. I just feel that to start off with a high price is not the right thing to do for a new something new. What we're going to do.
Yeah.
Just a question. It will be possible, Lisa and Sean and Eric, if we were successful in the first year with the pilot project, to increase the fees going forward?
When your fee schedule changes next year, yes.
Sure.
Annual discussion. So, I mean, it's just like a supply and demand and a popularity thing. If it becomes successful with a high demand and we have to build more of these racks, and perhaps, we could substantiate that, but I would love to see it be successful. And
Yes.
Oh, I agree too.
So trying to start it off to try and help folks out and be like a no-brainer. You laid it out so eloquently. It is a hassle transporting that thing, and getting it on the car and off the car. If you could just go down there and toss it in the water and go for a paddle and come back and put it on the rack and lock it up, what a beautiful thing. And I would just love to see people take advantage of that. And Bill's right. It's the first time, and we're going to have to fine tune it. There's always growing pains, or as he said, we make mistakes. We're human. So we'll have to make whatever adjustments. But I think to start it off, as you called it, a pilot, set a reasonable fee schedule. We all pick, some locations, and hopefully the public embraces it and they get out on the water and it's good,
I have 3 locations I want to do in mine. I want to do one in Cold Spring on our property, what we have there, and then one in West Neck and one in Scholar Pond.
East Quogue, Bay Avenue is a good spot for a kayak rack, but the Parks Department has a kayak rack there, and
Right.
I don't know if I want to compete with the Parks Department. So I think what I've been doing is monitoring their rack, and I think if the popularity grows and there's a need, as we get going on our Bay Avenue reconstruction project, perhaps there's a spot there that works. The other thing about that is that it's used a little bit differently, that area, with commercial and recreational versus where the town has that facility for the marine park. But Baycrest is certainly a spot where I think it could be really good.
Yeah, it's a lot more oversight down in Baycrest, Bay Avenue and East Quogue too. You have people on site that are there. Any idea how much the Parks Department is charging on that?
Yeah.
Ramp, the rack? I know it's off topic on this.
I don't know, but
Okay, let's find that out. And also, and another off topic, I know we're discussing the numbers here, but also how you're going to handle the first year of people going on the waiting list. There might be more of a demand. We might have to have a lottery type of system the first year. For the first people, if you have 10 spots open and 15 people apply, how are you going to,
That is very easy, Eric. That is very easy to figure out. That's
Okay.
As they apply.
That's
No,
a
I'm just saying,
no-brainer.
think about it. We're just talking about,
You know what it is? You add another rack to that location.
Okay.
That's it. Then you
Okay.
have 2 racks.
Right, and
Okay.
that's why we had drafted it with the wait list component, because Bill and I had talked about adding more as this program goes on. So that's why
Okay.
Yeah, because I might find out in West Neck, no one wants to go there. Then you take that rack out and bring it to Baycrest or up to Spionk.
Right. Okay, good.
You gotta be flexible.
Yeah. That's what it's
Go with
all
the money.
about.
That's
Okay.
I hope that answers your question, Ann. It was kind of a trial and error type of a thing where we arrived at it. And I think that the only thing that I didn't mention was that the commercial permit, as we had discussed for enforcement for the Bay Constables, providing a sticker for the commercial harvester, the commercial boat, to help with the constables on enforcement, as we're seeing boats out there, and Ed could probably attest to it. better than I can, being a bayman, is that sometimes you see baymen out there that perhaps are not town baymen. They're coming in from somewhere. We're going to put that sticker on the boat. And I think that, we should raise by like $20 on those permits to offset the processing and the cost for that. So I think that needs a tweak in this fee schedule, in addition to the other things that I listed.
Okay. Maybe there could be some sort of generic sticker, like just a giant emblem or something, and then they have to paint their ID number on the boat.
Well, or IT, they can perhaps just make some form of a commercial symbol and an expiration on the decals we're already printing, perhaps, and we can provide them with that, with their license number on that, and that may take care of it in one shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could put a sticker like the same color as the stickers that we have right now. I mean, the same size, and then have them put in big numbers, their shellfish license number on there. I mean, the state makes you put numbers on your boat. It makes you do it. They don't issue you a sticker with you have a little tiny sticker on there that has your numbers on, but you have to put visible numbers on your boat. So,
right. We're just want to you get all these phone calls and again, Eddie, you could chime in too. I know you probably see people out there. I think for the constables, when they're on patrol, making sure that the vessels that are there are proper vessels that are allowed to be harvesting on our town bottoms, and are following the proper methods and bag limits and whatever. We had a whole conversation about enforcement at Tom Pond. I think that it's a simple tool. The other thing is that if baymen are out there, and they should be protective of their resource as well, and they see a vessel that's there harvesting commercially that does not display the proper permitted sticker on that boat, they could make a phone call to the constables as well and say, hey, we've got an inappropriate or illegal harvester here. It may be easier.
That's where most of the questions were I was approached with this past summer. Well, who do we know is this guy or that guy or this guy? Because there's like a new boat every day out in Shinnecock or Western Shinnecock. There's a set of clams and Mauritius. There'll be boats up there. So just for enforcement purposes and for the baymen for their peace of mind, if they see a boat without a sticker on there, they can make a simple phone call.
Right. So I would say it's an excellent tool, but while we're, this subject's about fee schedule, what I'm saying is that we should simply adjust the fee schedule so that there's a nexus to the extra involvement that it's going to take to do that. Not a lot, just $20, something that's just going to cover it.
I would pay $20 for a sticker to stick on my boat so that everybody knows that I'm a commercial bayman from Southampton Town in my town waters. It would give me a peace of mind, and it would give a lot of other baymen peace of mind.
All right.
Okay. All right. So then rather than doing all these add-ons and resolutions and everything to change these, what your suggestion is, you want to table this to the next meeting so you can come up to some consensus among everybody, and do it as one permit, one resolution instead of mending all this?
I would ask Lisa, will you, is everybody in agreement with what we were discussing here?
You're addressing me?
Well, what
Yes.
I'm saying is that if everybody's in agreement, I would ask whatever you think is going to be the easiest procedure so that January 2021, we're all good to go. I just laid out some numbers here, some tweaks here
We could,
to this.
my suggestion would be, if the board is amenable to it, is to go through each line by line and see if everyone's in agreement with those fees for 2021. If you want to do that today, or we could table it to the 21st.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Which do you think would be better? Like Eric was suggesting.
Crosstalk? So,
Maybe we talk about it, everyone gets to look at it, and then by the next meeting, those numbers are the correct numbers. And the resolution is
Then we can just a resolution to adopt.
passed.
Right.
We don't need to do it. It's for Jan, as long as it's done, so it's in place for January. what is the latest date that we can give you that and you're all ready to go for January?
The last meeting of the year is December 21st. So we could adopt on that day, and depending on who's in requests, we could get that posted in forms, and the govern modules and everything will be ready to go on the first business day of the year, but hopefully we can get that taken care of, but that's cutting it close.
Okay, well, theoretically, we'll have everything all done basically like in a draft, and if you only have to change 2 numbers, you can just change it and then fire it in right after the meeting, right?
Because does anybody else have anything beside what I articulated?
I do.
Today, I'm here.
Go ahead, Lisa.
No difficulties here.
Yeah, I'm having, Eric is saying, do we want to go through line by line, Scott? Is that what you're suggesting, or every board member come up with their own suggestions and then we can on the 21st?
What I'm saying is that we've all looked at this.
Scott, I think for expediency's sake.
I'm not hearing Eric at all.
I think for expediency's sake that you all just discussed between ourselves, if there's any tweaking, and then mark it all up. I'll get everybody's consensus on everything, and we'll have it one blanket resolution.
I'm having technical difficulties. I can't hear Eric, Charles. Hello?
Not much I can do from my end.
I get everybody general consensus.
Okay.
And it's one blanket.
All right, look.
I don't think he's close to his microphone.
Lisa,
Yes.
there's nothing Charles can do.
Eric,
Closer to his microphone.
consensus is to table this to the 21st.
I would like to.
The president would like to table the resolution to the 21st to get all the other board members' input in on this resolution.
Okay, can I just speak to one thing before we leave this topic until next time? When you look at the fee schedule, when one looks at the fee schedule for the 4x4s and for the boat ramps, those are the 2 specific ones that I'm looking at. We have granted veterans and active military for a 1-year permit, a 0 fee. And we've granted senior citizens a 1-year permit also for a $15 fee, so reduced from the 30. I know it's been brought up in the past, but what about our first responders, our fire department volunteers, and our ambulance? Would there be some possibility of offering them a reduced fee as well, given the commitment and the tremendous support they provide in this community? Perhaps we could talk about that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for supporting, obviously, the first responders and the firemen and the ambulance. My hat's off to those people. I mean, Bill's in the fire department. My son's a volunteer fireman. We just have to take a look and see what that does to the budget, and where if we can afford to do it, and we just have to study it. We want to help all those people. We just got to see what it affects are.
And we ran into a problem when we discussed it last time, because we were going to give it to the first responders, but then the wife of the first responder had a 4x4 too. And does she get it? And the kids, it really got off topic when we started talking that way.
I think it needs to be looked at.
Yes.
It needs to be
Bruce
looked at
and I
and
looked
studied.
at it pretty closely.
Right, not rushed for sure, because you want to take, obviously pay the respect to those folks.
No, we could do, hey, Scott, we can do this here. Maybe we could have a box on the form, are you a first responder? That way we can get a hand on it.
Oh.
For the following year, we can do it.
Yeah, maybe we should take that as a separate item and really do the study on what the effects
Yeah,
are budgetarily.
because you could have,
because
you could have 1,000 people.
it's a two-way street also. You want to respect those folks, but I know a lot of those folks also respect the work of the trustees because, you take just for example, the picnic area. A lot of the people that go and enjoy their time off at the picnic area, they're the salt of our community. They're your first responders and your firemen. And I know on the other side of the equation, they want to help out the trustees so that they can continue to do the recreation that they love. So I think the trustees share a mutual respect, for each other, because we're kind of out here protecting, the community, both of us. Ed's got a good point. Bill's got a good point. Maybe what we should do is look at this fee schedule. It has to be adopted in January, and then as a separate issue, take a look at these, this idea that you brought up and how this can be done separately. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right. So Eric,
I'm going to hold the board, and come to a consensus so we have a formal resolution at the next meeting. Hold on a minute. Hold on 1 minute. We're just going to have to leave the door open. Okay. Okay, Lisa's having problems with her connection, so I'm going to sit in between us so she can be on. Okay. The age of computers and Zoom.
Keep your distance.
I am. I'm at least 15 feet away. Waiting for her to get back on again. Oh, my finger is covering the microphone here.
Nice view out the window, Eric.
My wife suggested I should do it in front of our Christmas tree. They had a festive touch.
And a sweater.
But with reindeer on it. I figured I'd come into the town hall in case there was any technical problems, which we have. So it's a good thing I did.
I thought you were going to have an ugly sweater contest.
No, I don't have any of those.
Got to set the aluminum pole up. We're going to celebrate Festivus this year. Festivus for the rest of us.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Okay, a couple more seconds, please.
No rush. I'm just trying to help.
Seinfeld reference.
Okay, and make sure you shoot me a date when you figure that out.
Will do. It's a ways away, but thanks.
Does Lisa have a Wi-Fi problem over there?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi seems to be down in the town hall here. So just bear with us. We're going to figure out something else here for a minute.
What do you guys got? Fisher Price equipment over there?
Yeah, the stuff's so old here, the computers have tubes in them.
Do you want to hear some of what's going on in the eastern section of the town while we're waiting for Lisa, or
Sure,
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah, Dan.
right?
Oh,
Okay, so a couple things actually. I'd just like to remind everybody, in case you haven't been into town hall, there's a postcard in your mailbox from Conic Land Trust, reminding you that at 7 p.m. on Thursday, December 15th, Conic Land Trust is hosting Dr. Gobler, speaking about Sag Pond and the research that's been done on it to the residents within the watershed via Zoom. If you need the connection, or if you haven't been into town hall to get that postcard, just let me know and I'll make sure you get the Zoom invite.
You could send it out to everybody just for social distancing purposes. That would be great, Ann.
Okay. So update on SAG and Mecox. Both ponds as of, or the bay and the pond were both closed as of Friday. The nor'easter Friday afternoon and Saturday, when I went down to SAG, opened SAG. So that was great because SAG was really high when it closed last week. So SAG is now open. And Mecox, we asked for, we're getting everything in line to open Mecox this week because the weather looks perfect for it. And we really want to take advantage of the weather window. Mecox is high, the salinity is low, and we've almost got everything all ready to go on that. So that's SAG and Mecox. Also, you may have seen in your email that the DEC sent a notice last Wednesday or Thursday, I believe, that they have accepted everything that's been submitted for the 10-year management plan. The details will be forthcoming as to the dates that they will be looking for submissions from the public for that, and a bit more details. But this is just the first update. So they have accepted everything that they asked for. So that's huge. And thank you to everybody that made that possible. And then just two sort of public interest things in this, three actually. In this age of COVID, with people looking for things to do, Friends of Long Pond Greenbelt holds a moonlight hike every full moon. So it's great. It's in Long Pond Greenbelt out behind SoFo Museum. There's really good trails back there. They're easy to access for just about everybody. The next full moon hike is December 29th. Second thing, if you happen to drive past the Bathing Corporation, Gin Lane, the Lake Agawam rain garden looks great even in the winter. So there's plenty of food for birds there as a result of the native plants that were installed. And just thanks to the Lake Agawam Conservancy for that, for working with the trustees and doing a great demo project there. And then just the third thing, just taking a moment to acknowledge that today is Pearl Harbor Day, and to thank and acknowledge everyone that took part in that and the reasons that they did. So, okay, that's all.
Thank you.
Lisa, you're back on again.
Yes, I'm back on again. If we could go back to 2022-61, the fee schedule.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that we table this till the next regularly scheduled meeting of the trustees.
Okay, that would be 12/21.
21, right.
That's it. We got to do it by then, though.
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, so the next resolution is 2020-268. We put on there Tom's Pond, Tuckahoe will be closed until December 15th for the taking of shellfish. Do you want to, if we're going to talk to Greg and we're going to have some limits on that, there's nothing that's, you'd have to have a separate meeting of somewhat to set the limits, the bag limits and the times and details of when people can go clamming down there. This resolution just addresses that it'll be closed till December 15th. Okay, our next meeting is our next time we're meeting is the work session of December 16th. So if you wanted to have a special meeting on that date, you could close that, you could amend this from December 15th to December 17th, which would be the day after. It would be closed till the 17th in anticipation that you're going to set the bag limits and sizes and everything and it would be open the following day. As it is right now, have no bag limits or anything like that.
Greg did respond to you guys on the chat bar on the side. So he has some input there. I'm not sure if you would like to take a look at that now. What I'd recommend, if it's practicable, if you can essentially schedule it for your next public meeting, you have no need to notice a special meeting. Otherwise, I would suggest we notice a special meeting today for whatever day you want to pick.
Well, we have a special meeting at the same time as we have our work session in addition to it.
Okay, so Lisa and the staff over there would have to notice a special meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's clarify. You want to do a special meeting for the work session on the 16th?
Well, you would have to, because right now it just says it's closed. We discussed bag limits, size limits,
Okay.
bag and hours of operation, and that would have to be done by resolution. So therefore, unless you want to have a special meeting next week at some time, earlier than that, and leave Tom's Pond closed and leave this resolution the same as the 15th, and have a special meeting in between that to set the limits, or you wait until the 16th or regular next meeting when everybody's together and then set the limits and go from there.
I think the 16th would be prudent. I can make it for 3:15 on the 16th, and we can hold the special meeting with this resolution.
And that gives you enough time to notify the papers and everything like that.
All right, so we'll table, you're making a motion to table to 12/16.
Yes.
Okay, you need a
Okay.
second?
Well, wait a minute, though.
Okay.
Is that what you're looking to do? Because right now you have it closed until the 15th, so that would open on the 16th.
Right, so we're going to have to amend this till the 17th, because we're going to decide it on the 16th. So that would mean the 17th would be the first day it would be open.
Okay, so we need a motion to amend the
Right.
closure date to December 17.
Is that okay, Ed?
Yeah, that sounds good.
You making that motion, Ed?
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
I'll make that.
That's a motion to amend. Okay,
Second.
so that's all in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry,
All
who
right.
was the second on the motion to amend,
Scott.
please?
I was, Lisa.
You made the motion, Scott was the second?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
now you need
motion-
a motion to table to the 16th.
I'll make a motion to
Yeah.
table to this.
I'll second Ed.
Yes, and you also have to have it has to be amended to the 17th.
We already did that, yes.
Okay, so,
We amended to the 17th, and then we amended, we have a motion and a second to table.
right, okay. All in favor?
All, aye.
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 Okay. All right. So Scott's next, 2020-278.
2020-278. It's warrant number 20 of 2020. It's for $41,566.60. We arrive at that by paying the law offices of Con and Con $39,667.13. Safe Harbor Properties, $58.60. Home Depot, $123.97, and InterScience, $1,716.90 for a total of $41,566.60. I make the motion to pay the warrant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, we have 2020-279. It's the authorization of 2021 labels and ribbon for the issuance of our permits. I know that Brandy and our Chief of Staff, Lisa, were working on getting the board the best deal. Obviously, we still have to discuss colors. We're probably going to go all generic, but that being said, we're still going to need supplies and ribbon to be able to do that. So I would make a motion to pass this resolution.
Yep, very good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, does anybody have any thing to add? Any comments, suggestions?
No, we've had a good meeting.
Yeah, I don't have anything right now.
I think we've had a good meeting and got some things to work on here and then get ready for the 21st.
Yep. All right, and I'll talk to each of you individually, go over the fee schedule, and if there's and get a consensus so we have something to vote on. We don't have to amend at the last minute to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, Baycrest looks great. Scott?
Yeah, I'm very happy. The community's very happy. I think Charles should go down there and take a picture and put it out there as a little commercial public service announcement in between shows so that people know that that's going to be a nice area to go fish in or launch a boat or get your kayak. You know, it's a long time coming. I'm down there almost every day now. The last with the storms, it was up there pretty high. You know, the tide's been way up and over, but we're looking good there.
Okay, great.
Yeah. No, good job.
Was there any
And then,
discussion with the Bay Councils about the length of the ramp and postage of signage at the end of the ramp to show where the drop off?
They're working on that, and they're going to be building a nice gate to keep people at the pier. There's going to be some safety ladders there. We'll figure out where a kayak rack can go. There's a light there that I got to figure out how to get it working. I see there's a light, which would be good, especially if you're going to have kayaks. And then I think beyond that, moving forward, I'm looking forward to meeting up with some of you folks as soon as possible on our nice little project we're going to do down on South Bay Avenue. That's very exciting. And also we're going to get over to Road H, and that way when the new year pops in, we're off and running. Bay Avenue, we're already wheels in motion with Cash In and everybody else. So, you know, we're wrapping up one, but we're ramping up for a few more. And then Bill's got some ideas that we got to get out there and look at. And I'm excited about that, working in the field. It's a great thing, and seeing progress, you know, in the face of a lot of adversity that we've been dealing with for the last 10 months. So we are making progress. So
very difficult to get anything done in this last year with this Zoom meetings and telephone and people working from home. It's very, you know, usually you can come into the town hall and get a lot of things done real fast, but it's just bogged down.
I got to be honest. It is true. It is difficult, but I got to be honest. I'm very pleased and I'm very proud at how the board's been working together and what we have been able to get accomplished with our great staff through this whole period of adversity. So I think in spite of it all, I think that we've been very productive for the people of the town. And I thank you all for that. And as we're heading into the winter months where, you know, it's looking a little uncertain and scary, I hope everybody just stays safe and that we just continue to do whatever it is that we can do to keep moving forward here.
Yep.
Okay.
That said, then make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
We need a motion.
And a motion to go into executive session for litigation purposes and advice of counsel.
Second that too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, James, Lisa, Charles,
About 10 minutes or so. Give everybody about 10
Sean.
minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Great.